Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and we got a special guest on tap for you today, Cecil Shorts III, and just a little bit of homework that we did on you. Cecil grew up in Ohio, a football family. Everybody played football in the Shorts family. Drafted in the 4th round out of Mount Union, played with, obviously, one of the most famous Mount Union guys I know, Pierre Garçon, who was in the NFL for a while. He was drafted by the Jags. We won't hold that too much against you, Cecil. He played 6 seasons in the NFL, 4 for the Jags, 1 for the Texans, 1 for the Bucks. Your passion now, which I've heard on other podcasts, you're a coach. You love working with kids, love helping out in the community. Currently a coach and teaching at Lamar High School, which I got to know, what subject are you teaching, Cecil?
I'll be teaching it's an elective called Life Skills, so it'll be fun.
Okay, let's get it. Hey, if you're at Lamar High School, sign up for it right now. He's MC for the Texans, also on his podcast game, Believe in Texans podcast, also a part of the Ultimate 216 podcast, talking about Cleveland sports. Cecil, how are we doing today?
Jeremy, that was an awesome intro, man. I appreciate you, brother. I'm doing good, man. Excited to be on here with you today. Talk these Texans, dig into some things, so it's going to be fun.
And one thing I noticed about you are not afraid to ever throw up the H. All your pictures that I see on Instagram, it's H's up. So for my man Cecil Shorts, if y'all could go down in the comment section right now, drop those H's if you love the Texans, if you're a real one. If you just love H-Town, hold it down. Go throw those H's in the comment section. Cecil, first off, want to thank you for joining the pod. And we were just talking, news around the NBA. SGA is the MVP. Also, news around the NFL, around the Tush push. It is not going to be banned. As a former player, I do have to get your 2 cents really quick on the Tush push. Do you think it was the right move to keep it in the game? Do you think it's good for the game? What are your thoughts on the Tush push?
The only reason people don't like the Tush push is because they can't figure out how to stop it. They don't have to stop to the wide zone or the power run or the inside zone or the go ball. They cannot figure out a way to stop the Tush push. Only one team really runs it, so they're trying to get it out. That to me is no reason. If you don't like it, try to figure out how to stop it, right? And to me, it's a bigger picture. Don't even worry about the Tush push. Worry about these quarterbacks that are sliding too late. We're about these quarterbacks that are playing on the sideline, and then now they're trying to draw a penalty like it's the NBA trying to draw a foul. They're drawing penalties and acting like they're hurt or they are getting hurt because the consequence of what they're doing, right? That should be more of the topic of conversation when it comes to on-field play. The quarterback sliding too late and then trying to draw penalties. That should be voted on rather than the Tush push. The Tush push is fine. Just figure out a way to stop it. You can't stop it? Well, you are paid as a coach. You are paid to figure out how to do this, so figure it out. I don't know how. I don't got an answer, right? Maybe I would say this though, Jeremy. I would say this. Maybe the pushing of it should be stopped only because it's a potential harm for the quarterback, right? That's the only thing I would say, maybe. But if you can't stop it, hey, that's on you. The defense coordinator's got to figure it out.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree with that. I think it's a little weak. That teams are like, we can't stop it, so let's try to go and ban it. I mean, what next? Are we going to ban pre-snap motion? Are we going to ban, having multiple running backs in the back? Where do we draw the line of, we can't defend this, so we're going to block it? So I'm glad we see eye to eye on that, and I didn't have to shoot you down real quick on that one, Cecil. Also, as I said in, a little bit of the preview talking about you were drafted by the Jacksonville Jags, and they maybe made the biggest move in the draft this year in taking Travis Hunter, trading up to get Travis Hunter. First, I want to ask your thoughts on the selection of Travis Hunter, how you think that's going to help the team, and then also, there were some clips of him, running some routes. People are kind of debating whether or not he's a good route runner, how his routes looked in practice. How much of a impact do you think Hunter's going to make year one?
Well, the trade up surprised me. I didn't see that coming. They're more of a conservative franchise in previous years and past years. So for them to make that trade up says 2 things. One, that the new GM in charge, the new head coach are willing to take risk. Like, hey, we're going to go out, step out. If we believe in the guy, we're going to go get the guy, right? Number 2, I think it's generational talent. I think he's that good. And it's going to be interesting to see how they manage his playing time on both sides of the ball, because I believe Jacksonville said that they're going to try to play him on both sides. I love that they're using him on the offensive side first. I think he can be a special talent opposite of BTJ, which is not good for the Texans. And I'll say this: he's raw. He's raw. When you're playing both ways in college, you don't have time to really. And if you listen to his practice schedule, he didn't really practice till later in the week. He didn't have a lot of time to really work and perfect his route running, right? So a lot of the videos you see, number one, I really don't care about because it's on air. So I could care less. I honestly care less. It's on air. Number two, you got to remember too, he's a rookie in a new place. The nerves are going, the excitement's going. So the few clips that you see of him maybe stumbling in the route or getting stuck in the route, it's not that big of a deal, y'all. Get over it. Get over it. He will be fine. He will be, in my opinion, he's going to be a superstar. Like it's that simple. I think he is honestly coming out of the draft as a receiver alone. I think he's a Justin Jefferson, a BTJ, a Chad Ochocinco type of a receiver. The hard part for him is, and right now, and I follow all football, but I follow Jags a lot. When you listen to the media, they're like, and people talk about him, Trevor Lawrence and others, he can run for days. Like, he's in incredible shape, right? But the hard part is how you're going to manage that to be able to, for him to perform on not only offense, but defense as well. That's what's going to be the specific challenge, as well as understanding, okay, me playing receiver in the NFL, there was so much that went into preparing for the opposing defensive backs, safeties, linebackers, the defense as a whole, right? So I'm on one side of the ball. I can't imagine doing that for both sides of the ball. But I think Jacksonville is perfect for him. He's not a kid that likes to be in the spotlight as far as out and about in the clubs or the Met Galas or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. It's a small city. It's a small town. He loves nothing to do but play football and play video games. Not mad at that. And guess what? Jacksonville's the perfect place for that. And I think he'll have a chance there to really pack that house out. Like, it's so many years that, because that stadium's huge. That stadium's around 80,000. And it's so many years that they struggle to fill that stadium up. But now you bring Travis Hunter. Now you got some excitement going here. I think he would be a generational talent. And again, that's not good for the Texans, but I think he can be very special for a long time.
Yeah, and this was part of what I was thinking whenever he was coming into the draft as well. I actually heard an interesting quote from John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens, and he was saying that, the amount of film work that y'all guys put in, and you can testify to that being a NFL alum, the amount of time that y'all spent in the film room. Is he going to be able to do that on both sides of the football? Like, if he's going against the Texans, is he going to be able to watch enough film on Stingley and watch enough film on Nico Collins to kind of see their tendencies, see what they like to do on both sides of the football? I think a lot of people are thinking more of the physical aspect of, is he going to be able to, beat these guys athletically? But on the mental side, how much of a test is that playing both ways, like, on your mentals? Because, like, if you're able to, be like a Tom Brady, be like a Peyton Manning, be like some of these, even a Ed Reed on the back end on a defensive side, the guys who have it all up here, can Travis do that playing both ways?
That's the hardest part about the NFL. It's not in my opinion, it wasn't the physicality. You can adjust to that. It wasn't the speed of the game. You can adjust to that. Those things are challenges, but the hardest part was the mental capacity that you had to go throughout the game, preparing for the game, and everything else that comes with it. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be tough. I honestly think that's going to be the hardest part. Can he mentally not only prepare for offense, but prepare for defense? Can he block out all of the noise that's out there when it comes to him? And it's just, it's going to be tough. It's hard for me to say yay or nay because he has to go out there and prove that he can do it, right? My gut says yes, he can handle it because I truly believe athletically, he's one of the most gifted guys we've ever seen. That's just what it is. For him to go out there and do that, we have not seen that. In my 37 years of living, I have not seen that done in the college football before, right? You got to go back to the leather helmet days when those guys were playing both ways and being superstars. So it's going to take a lot of mental capacity, a lot of studying. It's going to take a very intentional time by the coaches right? Because there's so much time you get with your receiver coach, your quarterback coach, your offensive coordinator, the offensive side of the ball. While the offense is meeting, the defense is meeting. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to be like very intentional time and a very intentional schedule for Travis to meet those needs of where he needs to be for both sides of the ball. Now, I'll say this. If they use him in a package on one side or the other, that would be extremely easier because he can focus on one side of the ball and then, okay, I got this offensive package here where I know I got, a go route, in route, a slant, and a bubble, right? Or a screen, something simple. Or he can be like, all right, nickel. There's a nickel package. I know I'm going on the outside to the left, and I'm playing man coverage, right? And so it's that probably be the easier way to get him going. Give him a small package on one side and then the full play on the other. But it's still, no matter what, it's going to be tough because it's so much of a mental game in the NFL.
Yeah, and while we're discussing this, guys in the comment section, let us know, do you think Travis Hunter is going to go off his rookie year? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. And actually, speaking of the AFC South, speaking about our foes in the Jags, our live poll on today's show, which is the biggest threat to the Texans in the AFC South? The results so far, Cecil, 40% say the Jags, 40% say the Colts, and 20% say the Titans, which kind of interesting to me. That's one of my hot takes of the offseason is I actually think the Titans and Cam Ward, I loved Cam Ward coming out this year. I think he might light the league up his rookie season. I would choose the Titans as the biggest competitor to the Texans this year from going back-to-back-to-back, three-peating as that AFC South champs. In your eyes, are the Jags the biggest competition, or could you see the Colts or the Titans coming in to, challenge the Texans for this AFC South title?
The Colts have a quarterback problem, so I don't know why they're even in the conversation. They don't. Anthony Richardson is not it. He's just not it. I'm sorry. As of right now, right? As of today, can he improve? Yes, because he has all the God-given athletic physical tools to be whoever he wants to be. He can be Superman. He's that physically talented, but when it comes to him being accurate and reading the defense and going through his progression and is simply staying on the field, not tapping out the game, that is a whole nother conversation. So I don't see that was wild. I don't see the Colts being a threat this season. I think it'll be a little different when you get Daniel Jones plays. I think it'll be maybe a little bit different because I think just honestly some of his weapons aren't being used. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, those guys suffered when Anthony Richardson was in. Now you add Ty Warren, right, offensive side of the ball, but you also lose EJ Speed and some other guys. You lost two offensive linemen to the Minnesota Vikings, right? Both of them. So I don't see them being a contender for the AFC South. I think it's between Jacksonville and Tennessee. I think Tennessee may surprise some people. I think I agree with you there. I think Cam Ward's a different type of dude. I think he's different. He's
nice.
He's not flashy. If you watch him, like the way he dresses, the way he carries himself, he actually kind of mean. He is super competitive. Like he is ideally what you want in a quarterback. He can make every single throw. He's accurate. He can do a ton. Holds the ball a little bit too long, but he fits that Tennessee, that Steve McNair, that Donovan McNabb type build. I think he can truly be a good dude. But I would give the nod to Jacksonville. I think they are the number one team. New head coach, new GM, a lot of excitement. They added some weapons on both sides of the ball. If this year to me is big for Trevor. If Trevor can stay healthy and prove that, because you remember Jeremy when he came out of college, he was supposed to be the next Jesus Christ.
Oh,
like, he was supposed to be.
People were talking about other teams tanking for this guy, being like, he's so good, you should lose this season to go draft him.
So to me, this year is going to say a lot. Like, just make a break, show up or show out. Like, come on, you got to prove that you are worth the contract or worth the number one overall pick. To me, it's been up and down. It's been, we don't know. To me, it's very, very inconsistent. And you can say, oh, it's injuries, but when he was healthy, he still wasn't the same guy, right?
Yeah.
And what you're judged on as a quarterback is wins and losses at the end of the day. So he needs to figure out a way to win with that team. They're surrounding him with weapons. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. And to try to kind of transition a little bit into some Texans talk. Now we have over 100 people in the live show. I know a lot of y'all are here to, hear Cecil talk about the Texans. Obviously, the number one thing we got to talk about is the offensive line, right? Like, that's what everybody wants to know. That's the number one question. The state of the Texans was the other day with D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio fielding questions from season ticket holders. And from the people that I had there that, told me about the event, 70% of the questions were around the offensive line. Give me something to, give me some hope around this unit going into 2025 to protect C.J. Stroud. Like, are we going to get better this year, Cecil?
Give you hope. I think the hope lies in Nick Caley and Cole Popovich. I think those two being on the exact same page, working together in New England for 4 or 5 years, understanding the same terminology, understanding how they want to run the ball, how they want to protect. I think that's where your hope lies. I honestly do. I think you brought in some veterans that could help. You drafted a guy named Nursery from Minnesota that can help eventually. You have your core guys that's been there the last 2-3 years that are going to be on the offensive line, I'm assuming. Now it's about putting them in the right place. But the biggest thing is the communication from Nick Caley to Cole Popovich. It was proven, and so we saw it every Sunday, every Monday, every Thursday, every Saturday they played. The communication from the old OC to the old offensive line coach did not work to the players. The players did not respond. They did not play well. They looked confused. They looked battered. They looked like they were just, the moment was too big. And nothing that Minnesota, that Green Bay, that the Colts, you name a team, they weren't doing anything crazy complicated. It's just the simple stunts and the simple alignment, the simple blitzes they could not pick up.
Yeah.
When you have that issue, that is a OC offensive line coach issue. Like that's simply what it was. So the hope comes in Nick Caley, brand new OC, brand new offensive line coach. They've been together. They work together. They know what they want to do. That's where the hope lies, because they have to be able to communicate with that quarterback, running back, offensive line, and tight end, because it's all of them together. Even the receivers, it's all of them together when it comes to blitzes, when it comes to different picking up different stunts. It works together. So if they're on the same page, they'll be fine, and that offense will be rolling.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked it out yet on YouTube, my guy Stressens, he had a great interview with Cecil just the other day, and y'all were talking some, analytics, talking about, different things, nuances of the game. And one of the big things I picked up was one play that you highlighted in Green Bay, and I think you know where I'm going with this, when Dalton Schultz just looked absolutely confused in blocking, in the blocking protection. He just did not look like he knew where he was supposed to go. And I don't want to, have this be a session of just us, punching down at Bobby Slowick and saying he did a bad job last year, because obviously, his, first season with C.J. Stroud, they somewhat, lit up the NFL. There was a reason why a lot of people had the Texans as, favorites in the AFC at the beginning of last season. But one thing I also did notice was the running game last year. When you look at the numbers, the Texans offensive line, which everybody talks about the sacks. Everybody talks about going against C.J. Stroud, getting pressure on him. The Texans were 31st in run block win rate last year. And one of the things I've been preaching is Joe Mixon saved this offense last year. His ability to make people miss in the backfield, his ability to, get some extra yards, I think that really saved this Texans offense this past year. With Nick Caley, could we see the run game kind of become more of the forefront for this Texans offense with Joe Mixon? Because I think that could really help C.J. Stroud.
I think the run game is probably going to be one of the most important things you have to improve on when it comes to helping your quarterback and helping your offense. It's not just pass protection, right? It's literally how you're going to run the ball. You mentioned it. There's games where I can go back to Green Bay. I can go back to a Colts game where Joe Mixon is getting hit in the backfield as soon as he touches the ball. But he's able to spin off, make a guy miss, and then get a 25-yard gain. He's able to make guys like he was creating those runs because of the mistakes up front, right? And he can be even more special. I believe he had 1,000 yards rushing last year, but you mentioned the win rate of blocking up front was terrible.
Yeah,
it was terrible. I mean, he was getting hit 2 yards, 3 yards, 1 yard in the backfield. It was consistently. And it was probably every game. Like he's had to fighting off guys to actually get to the hole. He can't even make a cut or cut back. And when the hole opens up, because he's getting hit, has to avoid the defender right there. So it's going to be interesting. Now, the thing about Nick Caley in this run game, he was a part of Belichick and Josh McDaniels when they were in the Super Bowl mode. So I'm interested to see what he takes from there. I mean, he's part of Sean McVay, right? So is it going to be a zone scheme? Is it going to be a multiple gap scheme? Is it going to be power? Is it going to be a mix of all of that, right? So it's going to be interesting to see. And I wish I knew, because then I could tell you right away, this is how they're going to run the ball. This is what they're going to see versus this front. They're going to run this, but we're all in the same boat. We got to wait till week 1 of the season. Maybe we'll see a little bit in preseason, but it's going to be week 1 of the season, what they really do in the running game and how they go about the offense as a whole. But you hit a nail on the head. They have to improve their running game. They have to shore up the running game, and that 100%. Will open up things for CJ down the field, right? But then you also got to add some depth there too. So you added Woody Marks in the draft, which I like a lot. You got Dare, but Dare is more of a third down specialist. If you bring Woody in for third down, right, can he be a guy that takes Darway away and he's strictly special teams? And then also I heard some rumblings today about some J.K. Dobbins action, right? So that would be interesting to see what they do in that room. You want to bring in guys to compete and get the most out of it. The thing about J.K. Dobbins, really quick, he's always been productive when he played. Like, no matter if it was Baltimore or the Chargers, he's been productive. It's about him being injured, right? I believe he had 2 knee injuries or Achilles or something back to back, and he struggled with. When he plays, he's nice. Like, he can really be a good complement to that running back room. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I do see some guys in the live chat. I see Jim asking, can you elaborate on why you like Woody Marks so much? He was actually one of my favorite picks from this draft because I feel like it was exactly what the Texans wanted. They were saying all along they wanted a receiving back. Woody Marks was by far the best receiving back from this draft class. I think it was like, round hole, round peg. The fit was perfect in my opinion. I heard you saying, you also like the pick. What do you like about Woody Marks and like what he brings to this offense?
I think he's a great compliment to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is your workhorse. He's your power back. He can run you over, make you miss. He's special, right? But he's also getting older. And when you look around the league, the best running backs, the best running tandems is a tandem. The best running attacks are the tandems, right? 2 guys that can really get the job done in either or the running or the passing game. Joe Mixon is really good in the passing game as well. But you look at Woody Marks, I believe he had 80 catches one year. Not at USC, but the school before that, which was Mississippi State maybe, or somewhere. Mississippi State. He had 80 catches as a running back in the SEC. Like, that's special. So now what you're doing is you're opening up your offense. So you can have Woody and Joe on the field at the same time. So you can have them start in the backfield, motion Woody to the slot. Now you got a mismatch, and you can CJ, who I'm assuming will have more control of the offense. Well, he'll see a mismatch on the right side with Woody in the slot on a safety or linebacker. He might take advantage of that. Or guess what? If they start to get out of the box, the defense starts moving out of the box. They say Woody goes to the slot. They can run the ball with Joe Mixon. So I think it gives you more, not only talent on the field, but more options to beat the defense, and it puts the defense in the bind. Because now you got another guy that's basically a receiver out there that can be a running back or in the slot. And to me, he toasts the ball well. There is some draft experts that say he doesn't drive his foot in the ground or get north-south fast enough. I think he looks really good. He played ball at USC. And you can't be a running back at USC unless you're talented, right?
Yeah,
that's the first thing.
100%.
But he just the things he can bring to the table, not just in the running back room, but also not just running the ball, but also catching the ball is why I'm excited about Woody Marks.
100%. And whenever they drafted him, so I got some deja vu because I specifically remember people on my channel last year after the Texans drafted Kamari last year being like, this dude runs a 4.5. He sucks. No way he's going to be good. And I would say Kamari last year had a pretty good year, right? Like, he was one of the best rookie defensive backs. I would just say one of the best defensive rookies. I think he got snubbed a little bit from deep defensive rookie of the year honors a little bit, but he was amazing this past year.
No, Kamari was outstanding. And that's the thing about Nick. I think Nick Caserio does an absolute fantastic job with finding guys who can play and fit their system. Like rounds 2 through 7, he does a magnificent job of really finding guys who can really come in and compete at a high level. And Kamari was just one of those guys. You saw it from day one not only rookie minicamp, but when the rookies came together with the veterans for the OTAs. He was competing against Diggs. There was reports out, and I seen it with my own eyes, that he was locking down Diggs and competing and not being scared to go against and press and the whole nine. And that attitude stayed throughout the season. He's special.
Yeah.
So to me, you potentially have two lockdown guys as Kamari continues to ascend, two lockdown guys on the outside at cornerback.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I think the Texans secondary, this Texans defense is set to be fantastic this year. Before we get going with our interview, and I have some more questions for you around the Houston Texans, I do have some questions from the live chat or some super chats that people have sent in. If y'all want to ask Cecil Shorts a question around the Texans, the NFL, send in a super chat, #Texans, to ask him a question. I think this might be a little bit more of a troll job. He says, hey, the Colts drafted Riley Leonard waiting on the preseason. If Riley Leonard's the quarterback for the Colts, I think you could definitely pencil a W on the schedule for the Texans for that one.
I tell you what. Shane Steichen, the head coach, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, obviously, he had a good year this year. He's a good player, but his best years with the Eagles was with Shane. And he really came on the scene with Shane. So he knows how to, and Riley's more of a mobile guy, right?
Don't tell me you're starting to believe in Riley Leonard.
No. I'm just saying, if anybody could do it, Shane Steichen can do it. So I know it's kind of like a joke or whatever, but I could see him playing some type of quarterback this season with how that room is set up with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson.
Okay. And then we have another super chat. This one from Ivan Escalante. He says, Cecil, tips to apply for AI department with the Texans. Help. I know you're the MC for the Texans, but unfortunately, I don't think Cecil does the hiring in the other departments.
Sorry.
I would say look on the Texans website for that one, Ivan. Appreciate the super chat, though. Appreciate you for tuning in to today's program. I want to get back to some Texans talk, and I want to get back to something that you mentioned maybe like 5 or 10 minutes ago about running more two running back sets, because last year I don't really remember ever seeing two running back sets besides maybe on some third downs here and there. But for the most part, I think they ran a lot of, 12 personnel with one running back, two tight ends. Could we see more of the 20 personnel or the, maybe even 10 personnel where it's one running back, four wideouts? Like, how do you see this Texans offense kind of evolving this year under Nick Caley with some of the different guys that you're adding to the fold too in this offense?
Great question, Jeremy. When you go out and you draft two receivers, to add to Nico Collins, right?
Yeah.
To add a Christian Kirk, and then you go out and get a receiving running back in Woody Marks in the draft, right? You still have Dalton Schultz, who needs to have a really good season this year to keep myself and others off his back, because I was with Dalton last year. I was upset. It seems like there's an opportunity, like you mentioned, for more 20 and more 10 personnel to happen on the field. Like, why wouldn't you want Jalen Noel, the speedster in the slot for Iowa State, now with the Texans, and Christian Kirk both in the slots?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want them on the field at the same time with the 2 6'3", 6'4" receivers on the outside and Jaden and Nico? Like, that's scary. That's scary for any defense. Or, okay, take Christian out, or take Noel out, then plug in Woody Marks. So say it's 20 personnel. But now you got the opportunity to move Woody around. You can motion Woody to the slot. You can motion Woody to the backfield. You can bring him across the formation. You can help CJ see what coverage is going on. Just the creativity is oozing out of the playmakers they're bringing in, from drafted, from free agency, from whatever the case may be, right? From trades. They doing a good job setting this up, setting Nick Caley up for what he wants to do. And again, we don't know what the heck Nick Caley wants to do. We can have an idea, but when you draft guys that can catch the ball, whether it's out the backfield, whether it's more receivers, you're thinking, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if they're passing more to open up the run. If they're coming out in 10 personnel, they're coming out in 5 wides with Mechie out there, right? Maybe they got an Iowa State package where they call it Cyclone, and you put Hutch out there with the other 2 Iowa State receivers, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just so many things you could do. I would not be surprised if you see a change of fold when it comes to what type of offense is being run. I wouldn't be surprised if you see CJ throwing the ball a little bit more. Maybe it's more quick game. Maybe it's more 2 plays at the line of scrimmage. Meaning he comes to the line of scrimmage with a run play and a pass play. And based on the coverage, based on what the defense does, he's able to dictate what he wants to do, right? I wouldn't be surprised if CJ gets more hots. Hots, meaning if there's a blitz, that receiver or that running back has to run a certain route so CJ can hit him right now and beat the blitz, right? So there's so many things that I would not be surprised that happens, especially with Nick Caley being from the New England offense, and I actually ran that New England offense with the Texans with Bill O'Brien. We're in the exact same offense that Tom Brady and Randy Moss and Julian Edelman and all those guys did in that time when Bill O'Brien was there in Houston in 2015. So I know all the nuances of that offense. And we used to come to the line of scrimmage with 2 plays. There's multiple times they would give Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates, whoever else our quarterbacks were that year, they're given 2 plays in the line of scrimmage. So based on what the defense does, he has an option. He has an ability to put us in the best position to succeed. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's 20, if there's 10, if there's 5 wides, if there's a potential if there's a potential of multitude of things you could do with these playmakers. But it's going to be on Nick Caley to figure out what's the identity of the offense. I think that's extremely important. What's the identity of the run game, and what do you want to do? Because when the going gets tough, what do you do well? And how can your guys execute in the fourth quarter, in the 2 minutes, with a minute to go, right? How can they execute as an OC? How can you get your team to execute, right, when it comes down to the second half and the opposite team makes adjustments? That's what Slow struggled with this year. You mentioned it. Year 1, awesome. He got to surprise some people. Nobody really knew what the Texans were doing. Nobody expected nothing. Year 2, people came in prepared. And yes, you still made the playoffs, the divisional round, but the offense struggled because adjustments weren't made to help the offense. The communication was out of pocket. So now with Nick Caley, those adjustments, he has to be ready for those, and you have to have an identity. Who are you on offense?
Yeah, and 2 guys that you mentioned just then in the wide receiver room, you talked about Mechie, you talked about Hutchinson. At the State of the Texans, the one guy that DeMeco Ryans highlighted as the hardest worker so far this offseason is actually Justin Watson. I know it's going to be a tough decision at the end of the day, and I bet you've been, in the locker room when a lot of those tough decisions have been made and, going into the regular season, 53-man roster cut-down days and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. With the wide receiver room with the Texans, they added 2 guys in the draft. They added another, set of guys via trade and free agency. You talked about Christian Kirk. Braxton Berrios was signed. We signed Justin Watson. Who do you think is the odd man out? Because they're not going to be able to keep all those guys. I love John Mechie. I've been a big proponent of Xavier Hutchinson as well, but I don't see a world where both of those guys make the roster this year for the Texans. Like, am I out of bounds for saying that? Or, what are your thoughts with this wide receiver room? And maybe it's a good problem to have because we have so much talent now in the wide receiver room that we have to make those tough decisions.
It's a very good problem, Jeremy. It's a very good problem to have. And I think I need to look at previous years, but they probably will keep 6, maybe. Yeah. That would be my guess. But you got to think Nico, the 2 rookies, and then Christian Kirk are the top 4, right? The top 4. So now you're fighting for those other guys, 5, 6 guys for 2 spots. So it's going to be interesting to see. Is it going to be because you got to put it this way: the top 4, whoever they are, they're going to have offensive reps. There it is right there. You got Nico, Jaden, Jalen, and Christian. Those guys are going to play offense. That's just what it is. They're going to play offense. Jalen seems like he'll play some. He was a returner at Iowa State, so he may do some things at Iowa State. But then you brought in Braxton Berrios. Then you brought, you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah. The other 2 guys outside of the big 4 are going to have to help in special teams. So that's where the Watsons, the Hutchinsons, that's where those guys can really stand out and make the team because they're also big guys that probably play on the outside, similar to what Nico and Jaden would do, right? But also they have to be able to run down on kickoff. They have to be able to be a gunner. So with so many things that come with the last 2 spots, it's going to be interesting to see. And I wouldn't be surprised, too. This is a surprise, right? Say no goes out there and kills it. They're like, hey, he's our starting slot. Let's trade Christian Kirk somewhere else, right? It could be that case. I wouldn't be surprised that happens. But when you look at it, I would say those 4, The two drafted, Kirk and Nico are the big four, and everybody else is fighting for those 2 spots. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to come down to special teams. It always does. Who can help us most on special teams, but can also make plays when their number is called. The previous years, I don't know if when Nico went down, if they could trust Hutch to make plays consistently. If they can trust, because 2 years ago was Noah Brown, if I'm not mistaken. He was the one out there going, right? Can you trust Mechie to make plays consistently? Mechie shows some bright spots this year, but he also shows some inconsistencies when it comes to drops, getting open consistently. I think Mechie can be a special guy if he figures out how to be a consistent player. But that's what's going to come down to. It's going to be interesting. You love it because you want competition in that room. You want guys to be able to compete. You want guys to be like, hey, push each other, and the cream will rise to the crop naturally. But it's going to be a tough call, man. Because if I'm not mistaken, Braxton Berrios was a Pro Bowler at one point in time, or All Pro as a kicker punt returner. So it's gonna be interesting.
You're 100% right, and he's dating Alex Earl, who's a TikTok star. So we have to take that into consideration as well. He is dating a TikTok star, so I don't know if D'Amico has TikTok, but maybe you know those answers. We talked about Mechie. Oh, hey, what's up?
My girl's in the picture. Y'all step out for a second, y'all.
Hey, she just wants her 10 seconds of fame. I don't blame you. You talk about Mechie, and it's funny because I work at Chat Sports. We have channels for all the NFL teams around, like from the Cowboys, Raiders, around everybody. And the 2 names that I've been asked about a ton this offseason from my coworkers have been John Mechie and Christian Harris. Those 2 guys, people were like, hey, could the Texans move on from these? My team needs a linebacker. One of my good friends, Mitchell Renz, he's like, the Raiders could use another linebacker. The Raiders could definitely use, some help on the defensive side. What's his availability from, those guys? And I always try to say, if I'm saying somebody is a trade candidate, that's a good thing in my eyes because that means you have value. That means other teams really want you. I could see Christian Harris, maybe John Mechie. Who do you think are some of the more, guys who have higher trade value on this team that other teams would inquire about? I just mentioned 2. Is there anybody else that I'm missing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think Jimmy Ward's in that conversation. I think definitely Christian. I think Henry. Ooh, I'm gonna go for it. Henry Toa. Mm-hmm. Yes, let's go. He's in that conversation because he had a good year last year when Christian was out. He made tons of plays, right? So now it's about, we look at that linebacker room, who's the better fit and who do you like more if you're the coach? Like who does D'Amico like more, Christian Harris or Henry Toa? Now you bring in EJ Speed, who has depth as well. Aziz is going to be there. That's what Aziz does, right? He's going to be there. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to be in a 4-2-5. Mm-hmm. So who do you want on the field? Is it going to be Aziz and Christian, Aziz and Henry Toa? Is it Aziz and EJ Speed, right? Because he's the guy that made plays and started for the Indianapolis Colts. So it's going to be interesting. I think that's one. I think Jimmy Ward is one to watch. I think he is a guy that has been injury prone the last few years, but when he plays, he's an impact guy. He's a leader in the locker room. He knows how to get the best out of his DBs. He's great to have in that DB room. But the closer you get, I believe he's already 30 or close to 30, right? Mm. But the closer you get up to that age 30 or that age, and the injuries start to happen, then you go out and get a C.J. Gardner-Johnson. When you already have a Jalen Petrie, you already have a Kamari Lassiter, you already have a Derek Stingley. It's like, is he expendable, right? Because I didn't even mention Kalen Bullock. Yeah. I didn't even mention him. And 9 times out of 10, if you got a vet and you got a younger guy, and they're on the same level or even close to it, you're going to go with the younger guy. He's cheaper, and he's younger. He can play a little longer, right? So I think Jimmy Ward may be one. I'm trying to think through it, but I think Jimmy, he hit the nail on the head. Jimmy, and then maybe Mechie, right? Depending on what people think his value is. I think the best is still ahead for Mechie, big time. Again, I'm going to throw Christian Kirk out there. Just because you traded for him does not mean he's not expendable. Does not mean that if Noel comes in and truly dominates, and you have an idea of Nick's like, hey, I want him in the slot, and he's probably not going to back up. I can have maybe Braxton back him up, right? We can ship him off and go get a 5th round or 6th round pick or something. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case either. And I love Christian. I think Christian's going to be a baller. I think he fits the offense. I talked about it with my man Stressens last week about how he can kill the option route game, which I think which will happen this year with the Nick Caley offense. But you asked about guys that can possibly bring some value to other teams. And I tell you what, too, it's a good thing because that means you have depth on your own roster, right? Yeah. You have so much depth on the roster that you're able to get rid of a guy that can bring value to somebody else because they're that talented, right? That just means your roster is extremely talented as well. So it's a good problem to have, but it's going to be some interesting questions at linebacker, in the DB room, and then we got to watch that receiver room extremely close. I'll even say Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, his rookie year, I'm like, okay, he's the guy. And then the second year, the third year, you're like, oh, man, what's going on? But he shows flashes, whether it's on kickoff returns, right? Whether it's against Tennessee, the last game of the year, whatever the case may be, he shows what he can do. He has to be in the right system, right? So we'll see what he can do with Nick Caley. But he may be a guy that can bring some value somewhere else, that you can get a draft capital back or something like that. So I will watch Dameon Pierce as well.
Yeah, and I was going to mention Jimmy Ward, and the thing with D'Amico is, and I think this is part of what makes him a great coach, is he's a locker room guy, right? Like, he's somebody who has a ton of respect in that locker room, and I think part of that was him bringing Jimmy Ward with him to the Texans to, implement his swarm mentality, implement, like, hey, this is how we do it in Houston. This is how we're going to do it from now on. And Jimmy Ward's been instrumental in that, in my opinion. I know a lot of Texans fans are kind of like ready to throw him by the wayside, but he's been really important in my opinion.
Everything you said was true, but I'll answer that like this. D'Amico came over with Bobby Slowick.
That is true.
And he made the tough decision to get rid of his boy. So if he can do that, and he's putting that tells me he's putting the team first. If he can do that, he can do the same with Jimmy Ward. Always going to be tough. Always, right? Always, especially when you build that relationship with guys, and he's a player's coach, so he has that tight relationship with certain guys on the team. But you got to do what's best for the team.
Yeah.
And also too, just because I let you go now doesn't mean I won't bring you back later, right? So I think there's a business side that everybody understands, but you're right, it will be tough.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a quick break. I'm gonna get to some more super chats before I get to my last couple questions for you. You're still good on time, right, Cecil?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Okay, cool. First super chat coming in from Jonathan Smith. He wants to know what Texans game is circled on your calendar for this season.
Ravens. You got to get over the hump. Mm-hmm. You got to get over the hump. Like that's just what I'm excited for Monday night. I'm excited for the Bills. I'm excited for I'm excited for a lot of games, right? This is actually a tough schedule in my opinion. You look at it, it's a pretty tough schedule based on the record last year of the teams, right? But to me, can you get over the hump? Can you beat the Ravens? Like, they've been kicking your butt for years. Can you get over the hump? Whether it's regular season or playoffs, they've been kicking your behind. Like, can you get over that, right? I think because to me, they're the biggest threat in the AFC. Baltimore, I think they probably should have went to the Super Bowl last year, in my humble opinion. They didn't drop that. If that play didn't happen, I'm not blaming Mark Andrews because I have him on my fantasy team. Marcus, okay. I love you, Marcus. Okay. But if that play doesn't happen, right? I think they mess around and win that game and go to the AFC Championship. Like or the Super Bowl, excuse me. I just truly see them being the biggest threats to Mahomes and those guys. Okay, I'll take that back. Mahomes is the biggest threat.
Okay, you said the Ravens were the biggest threat, and I was like, man, he's really low on the
Chiefs are the biggest threat. I'm sorry, the Chiefs are the biggest threat. But you've been running into the Ravens a lot the last couple of years. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying getting over that hump, that mental hump, right? And everybody goes through it. Chicago with the Bulls, Michael Jordan had to go through the Detroit Pistons. Took him a while to get through there, right? Like, everybody goes through it. So I want to see them get over that hump.
Yeah, and that's why LeBron's the GOAT.
Hey, we're on the same page, man.
Hey,
we're on the same page.
I get a lot of hate from it. People like to totally forget about before Jordan made a finals that he was getting whooped up by the Celtics and the Pistons. But hey, that's rather near nor there. We can go off on another tangent. I'll have you back on for another LeBron versus MJ debate, Cecil.
Let's do it.
Another super chat coming in from Fonville Fines. Said, thanks for all you guys do. Well, we appreciate it. Hutch deserves more respect than he's been given. He was a dependable option against Green Bay and the Colts last year. And he also brings some special teams. That's what you had mentioned, Cecil, is adding the special teams value. And I think Hutch does that a little bit. Could he find his way, making this roster over a guy like a John Mechie?
Yeah, Hutch can really. Hutch got a shot. Like, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a guy that can help. It's just a matter of who they like more and who produces when the lights are on, right? I think Hutch had a really good preseason last year, and as that guy mentioned, he showed up in a couple games. But when you have the weapons galore that you have, you need guys to be dependable and consistent. So can Hutch be consistent week in and week out when his number is called would be the question. The thing about Hutch is, can he get open consistently, right? Can he create that separation in the routes? He's a darn good football player when special teams comes, when it comes down to catching the football, but can he consistently create that separation to go get the football and get the first down? That's going to be what Hutch's situation is.
And the one thing that kind of worried me about Hutch last year, whenever I went back, watched, some of the replays of some of the games, some of the, film from, a little film study, he wasn't as good of a blocker as I thought he would be. In a couple situations where there was like wide receiver screens, I feel like he really wasn't able to move the corners off the line of scrimmage, kind of help out in that quick wide receiver screen game,
It's going to be interesting to watch Nick Caley because if I'm not mistaken, with the Rams, those guys blocked. Mm-hmm. It was like no block, no rock. So whoever was the receivers there, Cooper Kupp, Puka, Robert Woods when he was there, multitude of guys, they blocked their behind off. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be interesting to see. You mentioned him blocking. It's going to be interesting to see. That may be I'm telling you, it takes so much to make a team, but they look at the littlest things. So if a guy like you mentioned is blocking well, they'll keep him because they can trust him to do his job, right? His job would be probably blocking the rest of the year, but they trust him. They're like, I believe in this kid. So the little things matter. That's a great point by you.
I mean, I want to see the best six guys make the team at wide receiver, but like you said, it's much more. I know we all think, can they catch the football? Can they score touchdowns? I feel like it's a lot more than that. We have another super chat coming in from Condition Based. This one's for you, Cecil. He says, has there ever been a year where you were nervous on roster cut down day?
You know what? Yeah. So in Jacksonville, I knew I was good. My first year in Jacksonville, my second year in Houston. Mm-hmm. My second year in Houston, I was nervous about making the team because they drafted Will Fuller. They drafted Braxton Miller. So I'm like, man, what's it look like? My reps kind of got cut down, but I was balling out in practice and preseason. So I'm like, I'm good. And I was talking to the coaches. I seemed good. I actually took a pay cut that year to stay on the team. So I'm like, I'll be good just to be a vet in the locker room. I don't care. You pay me this much money to sit on the bench. I'm fine with that. I want to play, but I'll be fine with that, right?
Yeah.
So I was a little nervous about that. Funny story. We make our cuts, and I'm on the 53. I'm like, cool. So I go to Columbus, Ohio, to be the best man in my best friend's wedding. And I leave Friday, and I get a call Saturday morning that they're going a different direction in the wide receiver room. You got to turn your playbook in. Well, I'm like, oh, well, I'm in Ohio, so I can't bring you my playbook right now. I'm sorry. And then from Ohio, I ended up going to Tampa Bay and doing all other stuff. So it was crazy. But I guess 2016 was the year I was a little bit nervous and then more shocked that I didn't make the team simply because, not because I was a superstar, nothing like that. How things were going, I was going to be that vet that helps out the younger guys. And I took a pay cut to be on the team. So I was kind of surprised how things went. But hey, business is business, man. You never know. Never know.
It's a business, man, not a business, man. We have more super chats, but I think this is a good kind of launching point because I did want to ask you about your time with the Texans. I did want to ask you, unless I haven't mistaken, you were with the Texans the year that they did Hard Knocks, correct?
I was.
What was it like? Because we all know the big scenes, right? We talk about Vince Wilfork wearing those big-ass overalls into the locker room. We know of, Brian Cushing being an absolute insane person with Alfred Blue. But the one thing I want to ask you about, and I think you might have had a front row seat to this, one of my favorite moments all time in Texans lore, DeAndre Hopkins up against D'Angelo Hall in that joint practice up against Washington. And I'll show you the picture right here. This was the result. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was different, but what was it like seeing this in person? Like, were you able to contain, like, oh, snap, like he just broke his ankles? Like, it was disgusting.
I'm sure everybody saw it, like the kind of leading up to that. We were doing one-on-ones, and like every joint practice, it always gets heated. Something always happens, right? Because I think it's, yes, you're going against somebody else, but people practice different. So when we're in practice, guys are trying to make the team on both sides. Guys are trying to prove their point on both sides. Guys are trying to like really, show out and do well. Plus, you're trying to get better at your craft. So Hopkins lined up in the outside receiver for one-on-ones. And I can't remember the cornerback he went against. But that cornerback for the Washington Redskins at the time was pressed up. So what Hopkins does, for whatever reason, he just felt like it. He says, I'm not going to do a moving line of scrimmage. I'm just going to smack you in the helmet as hard as I can. Now, Hopkins wears a size like 7X glove. That's to be real, it's probably 3X gloves. His hands are probably like 2 of mine. So he decides I'm just going to slap him in the side of the helmet. I'm sorry, it was left to right. Slap him in the side of the helmet and then outside release. So he slaps him in the side of the helmet. The guy's helmet goes like this. He runs his route, and it's a stopping route. It's like a 10-yard stop. He runs the route, he kills the guy, but he drops the ball. So he's mad. He's like, dang. Whew. And we're kind of laughing like, oh, he just slapped him in the head, whatever the case may be. Come on, Hop, catch the ball, finish the play. And then D'Angelo, and the cornerback didn't say much. He kind of was in his face a little bit, but he wasn't saying too much. D'Angelo Hall, who is, special career, Virginia Tech legend, like really, 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 really good player. He went up to Hopkins and was like, hey, if you did that to me, I would beat the whatever out of you, right? You ain't going to do that to me. And he was like, I don't fear you, homie. I fear God, right? The famous line, I don't fear you. I fear God. I fear God. And then escalated from there. So we go over, we break it up. We continue one-on-ones. We get after it. We kick their butt in one-on-ones, by the way. And then we go to the main field. So I'm on the sideline. It's like, I forgot. I think I just came off the field. I'm on the sideline, a different personnel. And then I'm literally right in front of it, watching Hopkins run his route. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like, oh, my gosh. When you do that, right? And honestly, he slipped. But he slipped because of the route that Hop ran. That's what it was. The route caused him to do that. Nothing else caused him to do that, but the route did, right? And he wasn't hurt from that. His feelings got hurt. He wasn't really hurt. But when he did that, that was just the hammer on the nail. I'm like, woo, we won that. That was it. Like, it was amazing to see. Because everybody in the sideline going, we're like, oh. He kind of limps off the field, and he like, acting like he hurt. He wasn't really hurt. He ended up walking around like he ended practice. He's a vet. But it was incredible to see. It was incredible. It was fun. It was definitely a moment I'll never forget. And that's why Hopkins was one of the best ever, man. And it was cool because it was good on good. Like, D'Angelo Hall was one of the best corners to ever play. Whether he's in the Hall of Fame or not, he was darn good in his time period that he played, right? And then Hop was like, man, I ain't scared of you. And I'm going to show you why. And he ran the heck out that route. So it was fun to see, man.
Oh, I mean, that was crazy. And I won't divulge everything I was told about Hard Knocks because I did talk to one of your former teammates before in Charles James. Y'all might know him as Crazy Socks. I had him on the show before. Was there anything else behind the scenes and, like, with all the cameras there, does it add something to, practice? Do you notice it, or is it kind of just like once you're in your game mode, like you're good, like you don't even care about all the HBO cameras around, or was it something that you had in the back of your mind the whole time?
I think everybody's experience is different. For me, my focus is on the field. So you notice the cameras around, but when you're playing, you're focused on playing, right? And then once the cameras are once you're off of practice, to me, that's when I notice the cameras more. When I'm in the locker room, when we're going. I think we went to NASA on that one episode. Like, it was just some stuff like, okay, cool, they following us around. But when you're on the field, man, you focus on what you got to do. Like, that's what it was. Now, that was my experience. For J.J. Watt, for Charles James, for Cushion, first of all, that picture of Cushion in blue is hilarious.
Oh, I mean,
like,
that was – I mean, I don't know if you still talk with Brian Cushing. He's one of my favorite players that ever played for the Texans. But he's insane. Like, the dude is crazy, right? Like, you got to be some level of insane to play linebacker the way he did. But, I mean, I absolutely loved every moment of it.
Everything you saw was the real Cush. Like, that wasn't for cameras. People were like, oh, because I'll be honest with you, sometimes cameras bring more out of people than what we normally see. For Cush, that's what Cush was every day. He was messing with Blue when the cameras wasn't there. That's just what Cush was. He messed with everybody.
Yeah.
Dynamic. I say about Cush, he was one of the best teammates I ever had. Oh, man, he was amazing. Just a really good teammate, a really good dude. He was fun to play with and watch play. He was intense. He was intense.
And we all know about J.J. Watt, and whenever I talked to Charles James, he talked about, like, kind of just what you said. What you see is what you get with J.J. Watt as well. Like, he was really there at 4 and 5 a.m. lifting weights every morning, and he was really that guy. Was there anybody that was kind of like an unsung hero, or like somebody who didn't get as much, I guess, notoriety for that Texans team that you were like, dude, this dude is a glue guy. He's really instrumental to what we do?
Oh, in that year?
You can answer Cecil Shorts as well.
No, I would never answer myself. There was a few guys. I think Vince was a really good leader. I think Shane Leckler, the punter, he was a exceptional teammate, an exceptional guy that kind of kept us together. Because that year we were I think we started off 2-6 or 2-5. Nate Washington was a huge asset when it comes to that receiver room. His veteran presence kind of keeping us calm through the turmoil. And then when we turned it around, he really made some plays and did some things, especially for the younger guys, just really help us come along. But it was interesting. I think it was a multitude of people that really helped that year make that year special. Because starting off 2-5, and then next thing you know, Cincinnati Bengals Monday night, Hopkins makes that catch, one-hand catch over Pac-Man Jones, and then we're off and rolling. We're like 7-2 in our next 9 games or whatever it is, and make the playoffs. So, I think it was a multitude of guys that really helped us turn that season around. When you think about glue guys, I mentioned Shane Leckler, John Weeks was Mr. Consistent, Vince Wilfork on the defense, Cush, Andre Howe, Jonathan Joseph. It was some really Kareem. Then on offense, man, I think Arian was still there that year. Ben Jones. Ben Jones would be the one I say was maybe the glue guy on offense, the center. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. He just did his job. He was weird though. He ate bugs. He ate bugs for money, and it was weird. Like, I'm just like, why are you doing this, Ben? Ben, what you doing, Ben? Why? But he would eat bugs. He would do crazy stuff for money because he's just an old country boy and don't care. He ended up going to Tennessee with Vrabel shortly after he left the Texans, but he was special teammate. And then Dwayne Brown, of course. Dwayne was there. He was awesome.
Oh, yeah. And obviously, there's a lot of, high character guys that you just mentioned. I mean, just you naming those guys, I was just thinking in my head, like, blast from the past. I remember, Ben Jones. I remember a lot of those guys along the defensive side that you talked about. The one person that I did want to ask you before we get to the rest of the super chats that we have, I feel like maybe fair, maybe unfair, Bill O'Brien was somewhat made the scapegoat for the Texans in their struggles. I know everybody points to the trade with DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals, but in the coaching aspect of it, how was he behind the scenes? Like, how was he as a head coach? Because as a head coach, I thought he did a great job. As a GM, that's another story. But, I mean, I would put him with some of the best Texans coaches that we've had, along with a D'Amico Ryans and a Gary Kubiak. What are your thoughts on B.O.B.?
B.O.B. knows the game. He knows the game extremely well. He knows the game. He's one of the best when it comes to knowledge. He had some of the best wisdom I ever been around. Like, he understood exactly what the defense was doing, what the offense was doing. He understood how he wanted the offense to run, how he wanted the defense to run, the intricacies, the nuances. He was phenomenal when it comes to X's and O's. So as a football coach, I thought he was really good. As a GM, he sucked. That's just what it was. Everybody's not made to be a GM, right? That's just how it is. That's why you have GMs. But as a coach, I thought he did his job decently well. Like, I thought he to me, he knew the game. Like, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. Now, did we execute as well as he wanted us to all the time? No. No, that's just how it goes, right? But to me, it's no surprise that he has another head coaching job at Boston College. No surprise that Boston College made some noise last year, right? There's no surprise there. So I'm happy for him. I think there's some things, if he gets another opportunity with the NFL as a head coach, I think there's some things that he would do different. But I do believe when it comes to football knowledge, that dude he knows the game like the best of anyone.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't even make it up right now. Maybe he's watching right now. I'm getting a call from Charles James. Well, hey, yo, Charles. Hey, I'm actually talking with Cecil right now. Can I call you back? Oh, hey, only if I can tape it. All right, hey, I'll hit you back up. Hey, I mean, that's live television for you. You cannot make that up. Cecil, he just told me if you want to run some one-on-ones with him, he's still got your number. I'm not, like, hand to God, that's what he just told me.
Hey, first of all, I don't think Charles ever. No, let me say this before I start talking trash. Charles was a competitor now. Chuck competed now. That's one thing I love about Chuck. Me and him gonna go at it. We gonna go at it. Like, it don't matter what it was. Chuck gonna compete. That's why I love Chuck. He gonna compete, and that was a fun year for Chuck too. He got to be a running back and take it to the house in preseason.
Yeah.
Like, Chuck showed his athleticism. You know what I mean? So I was happy to see his success, man. It was pretty cool because he was a guy. You saw early on in Hard Knocks, like most of us, we're fighting for a spot on the team, right? If you're not a superstar, if you're not a J.J. Watt, if you're not a DeAndre Hopkins or Arian Foster, you got to prove yourself. And for him being undrafted and really having to be behind it was a deep DB class or DB room that year. He went out there and competed, man. And he was one of my favorite teammates because he went out there and competed every single play. Like, you knew what you were going to get. You're going to get his best. And that's all you guys for. But as far as one-on-ones, man, we can get that work anywhere. I don't care where we at. I got flip-flops on and socks. Like, we can go outside. Hey, we can go on the roof, Charles. Chuck, we can go on the roof. Loser got to jump. That's just what it is. So I'm down with it, baby.
I told him I'm down as long as I can film it. We're good.
Hey, let's do it. Call overtime. Call ESPN. Call wherever you got to call, man. Let's go, man. 101. Old man 101. Let's go.
Oh my goodness. All right. Before we get kind of finishing off this interview, I did want to go back to some of the super chats because we kind of cut it off a little bit. We had some more questions for you. This one coming in from Brockman 100. He says, "Who are the lead guys in the middle of the defensive line?" So I'm guessing he's asking about, who do you think is going to start at the defensive tackle spots? We know Will Anderson Jr. We know Danielle Hunter. They brought in Sheldon Rankins. They re-signed Foley. They have Tim Settle. Who do you see making an impact as this is kind of my mocked-up defensive line where I have two of the defensive tackles and I have nose tackle as well. Who do you see as impact players on the interior for the Texans?
They didn't bring back Mario? Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did. Mario Edwards Jr. as well.
And is Danico back this year?
Yes, sir.
My personal opinion, I think Sheldon is starting on one side. I think I think he's just good, man. He's special. I think he can really make an impact. And I like Tim Settle or Mario. I like Tim Settle or Mario in there. I honestly think that interior defensive line played much better than what we all anticipated. Mm-hmm. I think they played better than going into the season. I would say that was a weak point. Like, hey, we got to really fix this defensive tackles, what they're going to bring to the table, especially with Danico, with Autry being suspended, I think the first 8 or 9 games, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, how are we going to really fix the middle of the defense? And Mario and Foley and Settle, these guys played well. Like, these guys played pretty well. So I think that's a solid place on defense with the guys you brought in with Rankins to help with the depth. Now, I'll say this too: when it comes to D line, you want fresh D linemen. Like, you really want fresh D linemen to come in and do their job and play their role. Because a fresh D lineman, like, you keeping the guys fresh, you got to think about it. It's very simple. The 5 offensive linemen don't come out the game. So when you bring in a fresh defensive lineman, they have to worry about who they're going against and what their strengths are and how they're going to attack them and what they do well. And they're fresh too. That brings a challenge to that guard, to that center, to that left guard, to the possible tackle if you do stunts. It just brings a different game, a different mental game that we talked about earlier with Travis Hunter, a different mental aspect to the offensive line they got to worry about. So I really think the defensive line as a whole, including that interior, is in a really good spot.
Yeah, and it's actually funny that you mentioned Mario Edwards Jr. Funny story, one of my buddies up here, we're at the Chat Sports Studios in Dallas. He was actually friends with Mario Edwards Jr. growing up. They played Little League football together, and Mario Edwards, I didn't realize this until he told me, but Mario Edwards, his dad played in the NFL for the Cowboys. Growing up, and maybe you can relate to this being, from a football family, but he said that on, maybe 2 or 3 times Mario had to walk home from practice for not running sprints, maybe not giving the full effort. If you see him around the facility, tell him, be like, hey, I got some inside intel. Apparently you had to walk home from Little League practice because you didn't finish those gassers, man. You didn't finish the gassers.
I got you. That's funny. I think we all got those moments, man, where it's just, especially my dad being my coach. It was some battles.
Oh yeah. Next question coming in from Isaac Gutierrez. He says, prediction this season. The ESPN article was wild. So he's asking for your predictions for the Texans, which this is actually kind of what I was gonna end on. So we can kind of wrap up the interview with this. What's your prediction for the Texans? Because ESPN, I believe them and Bleacher Report had the Texans finishing second in the AFC South. And then as well, there's a lot of people that don't think the Texans are going to go back-to-back, three-peat as AFC South champs. What is your outlook on this season, coming off, maybe not a disappointment last year because you made the divisional round, you almost beat the Chiefs, but what's the, mentality within NRG? How are we feeling inside the building around this team going into 2025?
Everybody's confident. Everybody has something to prove. Everybody has something to prove. And the more articles that come out that doubt them, it's only going to be fuel to the fire. They hear it. They want it. Keep doubting. They want it. You got to remember they added certain people to that locker room to bring that edge to the team, right? You don't bring in CJ Gardner-Johnson just to be a good guy in the community. You bring him to get guys fired up. You bring him to bring that edge, that swarm mentality that D'Amico talks about. You bring him in that locker room to get these guys going, hey, this is how we win the Super Bowl. This is what we have to do on offense and on defense. And as a team, this is mentally where we have to be. A football season goes up and down, right? But how can you be consistently good and find ways to win consistently? That's why you bring the guys you bring in the offseason. That's why you bring in these guys. Like, to me, it's not far-fetched that, articles are thrown out there this time of year because they're trying to get the surprise pick and trying to get things correct. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When you look at the nitty-gritty, the Texans roster is better than everybody else in the AFC South. That's just what it is. You can say what you want. Even if the offense don't improve, how you going to score? If the offense don't improve, what are you going to do to that Texans defense? Barring injury, right? Barring injury.
Yeah.
Barring injury. What are you going to do? And one thing I love, that one person we haven't heard from a lot this offseason, which we heard a bunch the year before, is CJ Stroud. You know why? Because he's in the lab.
Yeah, I mean, he's not
He in the lab working. Hold on, Jeremy. Hold on. He working, Jeremy. He ain't doing what we doing. Because last year he would have hopped on Chat Sports and been talking to you. He in the lab working, man. Like, this is what they do. They want that they are thinking we work in silence, let everybody else talk what they want to do, and then we'll prove it on the field. 12 to 13 wins this year. You heard it. 12 to 13 wins.
Okay, I like it, man. I like it. My record prediction for the Texans this year was 11-5-1. I always
One.
I always predict a tie because record predictions right after the draft are stupid anyway. So why not predict a tie? Why not? Why? I mean, I'm sitting here acting like I know what the Texans are going to do in Week 14. I do think that, if I had to give floor ceiling 13 wins, floor I would say 9 wins, but that's with a ton of injuries in my opinion. But I'm really excited. I know Texans fans are super pumped for this season. And if they go to NRG, I know they'll be able to see that smiling face of yours because you'll be rocking the mic for the Houston Texans this year once again. I just want to give you a second. Let the audience know what you got going on. I kind of touched it at the top of the show. You've got the Believe in Texans podcast, the Ultimate 216 podcast, where you talk about, grew up in Ohio, Cavs, kind of like the I would say the Cavs are just like the Rockets as a young team. Everybody thinks they're going to do great, and then they kind of have flamed out in the playoffs, kind of flamed out when the lights got a little bit bright. I'm going to give you a second. Talk about what you got going on in the next couple months, and maybe a little uplifting talk to your Cavs.
Yeah, so please just follow me on Twitter and Instagram. So on Twitter, it's Cecil Shorts III. I had an old Twitter, but it got hacked, all that good stuff. So I got a new one. And then Instagram, just my name, Cecil Shorts III. It's just Cecil Shorts III. And then, of course, like you mentioned, I'm on the Believe in Texans podcast, which, Jeremy, I'm going to have you on soon, sometime this year, where we talk all Texans. And we actually have a new co-host coming soon. So when that new co-host comes out, we'll put out a big old marketing piece, and that'll be a lot of fun. And then also the Ultimate 216 show. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, so I still rep hard my Ohio blood. So we talk about everything Cleveland, from culture to Cavs, Browns, Guardians, all in the Ultimate 216 podcast, which is ultimately a part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, which is a really big sports show in the city of Cleveland. So it's a lot of fun. I'm staying very busy. As you mentioned, my Cavaliers let us all down this year in the NBA. Number 1 seed, best record in the NBA, or second best record, I can't remember. And we basically all got hurt. We basically were soft. Yeah. And it was disappointing to see us kind of fold the way we did. And we lost in 5 games. 5 games to the Pacers. So honestly, I think we got to break it up. I think Donovan Mitchell stays. I think Jared Allen has to go. I'm even down for Darius Garland to go. But you got to bring some toughness in. You got to bring some guys that are going to be physically and mentally tough, that understand what playoff basketball is about. I wouldn't be against going out and trying to get Giannis in there somehow. But I'm done with the group of Donovan, Darius, Jared, and Evan Mobley. You got to keep Mobley. I think he's special. Jared Allen's just not a playoff big man. He's just soft as cotton. A real nice guy, but soft as cotton. And then Darius Garland got to go too, in my opinion. I watched him just get good player, but when it comes to playoff basketball, it's a different game. And Donovan produces all the time. Evan Mobley, I think, is a young unicorn. He's special. But those two in the middle, they got to go.
And obviously, in an NBA guy, and we have a bunch of NBA guys here at Chat Sports. One of our bigger channels is actually our Knicks channel. Can we get a prediction for Knicks Pacers? You're an Eastern Conference guy. You watch the Pacers for 5 games in the playoffs up against the Cavs. Knicks Pacers. What is your prediction for that? Like, who's coming out of the East in the NBA? Because our Knicks guy, I'm looking at him right now. He's wearing a Knicks jersey. He's pumped up. He's screaming, "Go New York! Go New York! Go!" What are your thoughts on the Eastern Conference Finals? Who's making out of the East?
I think this is the next year. I honestly do. I think they are just, and I keep mentioning it when talking about it. And I blame you, Jeremy, but the mental part of the game is so important, right? But what's the head coach for the Knicks name?
Tom Thibodeau.
Thibs. What Thibs does, he brings that mental toughness to the team. Yeah. So they were down by 15 plus points multiple times in the series against the Celtics. But because they were mentally tough, they were able to come back and play well. I think when it comes to the Pacers, they want to play fast pace. They want to just run it down the court. But I don't know if they'll be able to do that against the Knicks, right? I think they're more talented. I think they're just a better fit. I think it'll be a very tough series. I honestly do. I think it'll be 6 games, but I think the Knicks win in 6.
Okay.
Knicks win in 6.
Hey, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. Me and Cecil. Hey, once again, I want to thank you so much for joining the show today. 100% hit me up. I'm definitely down to come on any podcast that you got going on. Talk shop, talk ball. You know, I'm laid back dude. Dudes talking sports. That's what we do. I did see another super chat from D'Angelo Jordan. He did agree with you. He said 13-4 for the Texans this year. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to wrap it up. I think this is a good stopping point for the interview. But like I said, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And, you know, I want to come down to Houston. If you're down to, you know, meet up, me, you, and Charles, get that one-on-one going at some point, we can do that. You can also, I don't know if you play video games, but Charles, if you're watching, you know I wax him in NCAA and in Madden. So if you're ever down
I'll beat both of y'all in NCAA and Madden and 2K.
If you want to catch the L, I'll send you my gamer tag.
That too. Fantasy football too. I'll beat y'all in all 4.
Hey, fantasy football, real football, you know, foosball, it doesn't matter. Chuggs and 6 because I'm winning all of those games. I'm winning them all, Cecil. But we can see how it goes later on. Thanks so much for coming on the show. And, hey, like I said, I put his link down in there. Go give him a follow on Twitter. Go give him a follow on IG. He's putting out some great stuff, and he's repping H-Town all the time. So, hey, one more time, thank you so much for joining us, Cecil Shorts. Until next time, I've been Jeremy Chuggs. This is Texans Today, breaking down the latest around the Houston Texans. My guy Cecil Shorts right here. Hey, thank you to everybody for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all next time.